The 2025 NFL Draft will go down probably as one of the most interesting drafts we've had in a while. With teams trading up, teams trading down, players falling out of ranks, and a lot of guys sliding, we got to see players get picked at spots that we weren't really expecting. And we also got to see 18 interior offensive linemen and defensive linemen combined go in the first round. I said this earlier before the draft started that this was a depth filled draft where every team can get any player they need or any position of need at a great value. And that's what a lot of guys did. So, with me saying that, I have four teams who went out and won their draft. Not because they drafted the best guys and they beat everybody, but they had a game plan and executed it to perfection or to the T. So, I want to start off with all that. I want to get into the Arizona Cardinals as my first team who won their NFL draft. Having a pretty good offense that came along in the second half, the defense just didn't seem to catch up. So going into this year and going into this draft, the Cardinals said we have to prioritize defense. Knowing that they need edge rusher, interior lineman, a safety, and a linebacker, they decided to address all those needs throughout the course of the draft. With their first pick, they got Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss in the first round at pick 16, a guy who was a top 15, top 20 draft pick and probably the third best defensive lineman on his class in that draft class, getting him at exceptional value. Walter Nolan had 14 tackles for loss, 6 sacks in the last year, and one of the best interior guys who can fight off good double teams and also be a disruptor in the pass game. And then in the second round, they go get Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. Injuries is what made him slide. I had him as one of the best corners going into this draft, but injuries had him fall all the way out the first round and even out the top 10 of the second round and going all the way straight into the Arizona Cardinals' hands at pick 15 of the second round again. Injuries did derail his season last year, but barring injuries and when he's healthy, he's probably one of the best corners on the field. Elite playmaking, elite ball skills, can track where the play is going, and exceptional play recognition. He knows when to abandon his zone to break on an easier route when he knows, and he reads the quarterback's eyes very well. Probably one of the best zone corners coming into this game. He'll definitely play on the outside, and he'll be very effective when he's healthy. In the third round, they go out and get Jordan Burch from Oregon, who's probably one of the best edge rushers that didn't get a lot of hype going into this draft and was kind of quiet because when you look at what he did at Oregon last season, he had 11 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and that's only playing in 10 games. He gets under a lot of people and he makes a lot of offensive tackles look embarrassed because how fast and how strong he is. He can definitely use the bull rush. He can definitely use the rip. He has a multitude of weapons in his arsenal to get to the quarterback. Very good value pick going into the third round. Although he was quiet, he's going to make a lot of noise in Phoenix, Arizona. Then in the fourth round, they go get a linebacker who was on that national championship team, Ohio State. They'll get Cody Simons in the fourth round. He led Ohio State with 112 tackles in 2024. He has exceptional reaction time, rapid, quick, and change of direction, and he knows how to fight off blocks, which means he will get downhill fast when he recognizes the run, and he has very good play recognition. Getting him in the fourth round isn't a bad thing. That adds to the linebacker room, adds to depth. We may not see him right away, but we will see him in situational football. And then later on in that draft, they get Denzel Burke, another corner from Ohio State. Not an elite playmaker, but still a playmaker. Very physical receiver, very handsy, knows how to break up a pass. And we're probably not going to see him start at all, but we definitely will see him as situational, and he will make an impact as more of a slot corner. So the Arizona Cardinals, they went in with a game plan and knocked it out the park, addressing all the defensive needs and concerns that they had. The next team that won their NFL draft was the Baltimore Ravens. Now, they didn't do anything wowing or splashing. They didn't make no crazy trades. They did the most Baltimore Ravens thing you could do. They sat there and waited and got the guys that they wanted at their value on their own time. And it kicks off with Malachi Starks from Georgia. Getting him at number 27, he was the best safety in the draft, the only safety to be selected in the first round. That says a lot. He will be paired up next to Kyle Hamilton. The guy who's a 3-year starter had 197 tackles and 23 pass breakups and 6 interceptions there. He's very great with his eyes. He knows how to attack the receivers. He's going to be very much needed because now you can have him sit back and roam. And guess who you paired him next to? Kyle Hamilton. And because of him being paired up to Kyle Hamilton, he'll have a lot of versatility. Kyle Hamilton can now be moved around like a chess piece. You can see him in a box. You can see him playing back at depth. You can see him disrupt the run, disrupt the pass. So it helps out And it helps out that secondary a lot because now you have another safety who doesn't have to sacrifice being the last man of defend because Malachi Starks is going to be back there. Then in the second round, they go get Mike Green from Marshall, a guy who had off the field issues, which he addressed in his pre-draft interviews. That's what probably led to him falling because I had him as probably the 33rd or 32nd best player going into his draft, which means he could have easily been drafted late in the first round. He falls all the way to the bottom of the second round, and they get him for a grand steal. And it might as well just be larceny the way they got him, right? This guy led the FBS in sacks with 17 sacks in 2024. Very good when he explodes off the ball. Great use of his hands, great transitional speed. He can bend around the corner very well, and he seems pretty much unstoppable once he puts his hands on an offensive lineman and he's able to knock them back first. Then the Baltimore Ravens switch it up. They go get an offensive lineman, offensive tackle to be specific, and Emory Jones Jr. out of LSU. Now, again, whether he'll play tackle, that's up for Baltimore, but he does have experience in protecting a mobile quarterback, seeing that he had to protect Jaden Daniels just a year and a half ago. And this is very great. You get him in the third round, you get him later on. He has very good positional flexibility because he's had experience of playing guard with the LSU linemen and where they have injuries, so he has been moved around a lot. So you could see him be kicked into guard, and it'll be very good for the run game of Baltimore behind Derrick Henry. So it all works out. And then later on in the fourth round, they go get another defensive player. They choose to go get Teddy Buchanan out of Cal, who finished third in the ACC in tackles, and really his only season starting at Cal. He was on the roster, but he didn't see a lot of impact until this last season, and it was very meaningful. But also within Buchanan's game, you've got to see him play as a weak side linebacker and a strong side linebacker. And we got to see him come downhill as a blitzer, and we got to see him play the passing. So you got a very balanced linebacker there for the Baltimore Ravens. That's a guy who can break on the ball, who has great lateral movement, great play recognition to know when it's a pass, but also he's been a wrecking ball in disrupting the run. So a very balanced off-ball linebacker, probably see him in a weak side spot when Baltimore Ravens want to use him. And then the sixth round, I know it's not the splashy pick, it's nothing crazy. They go get one of the fastest guys in the draft, in LeJontay Western from Colorado. Again, he will be undersized. You may not see him a lot as receiver. However, you will see him on the field. And he'll probably be in the special teams. He'll probably be a great return man until he learns the receiving position in Baltimore or barring injuries. But he will have an impact on that Baltimore Ravens team. So after that, the third team that I say who won their draft was the Chicago Bears. Last year, they went all in on Caleb Williams. They ended up getting him Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, getting Roma Dunze. They got some weapons, but they didn't have pretty much a good offensive line. So they get a new coach in Ben Johnson, who comes from the Detroit Lions as their former offensive coordinator. And you get to see he puts his hands and imprint on this team immediately. Because first thing they go do with their draft pick, number 10 in the first round, they go get Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. And immediately what you think about is what he was able to do with Sam Laporta there in Detroit. He's going to do it here in Chicago. Every guy, every quarterback needs a best friend, and it's always usually a tight end. Simple check down. So that'll immediately make Caleb Williams' job just a tad bit easier. And then they also add another weapon. After losing Keenan Allen to free agency, they go get Luther Burden, who probably didn't have the most productive year last year, but he was and is one of the most talented pass catchers in this draft. Now he didn't have the year that he had compared to last season, where in 2023 he had 1,200 yards and over 5 touchdowns. However, he's still probably the second best receiver on the board for most people, but was surprised by him falling into the second round. And he's going to be very explosive and used immediately. Very big, very physical of receiver, and it's going to work out. So that's two weapons you go get for Caleb Williams. And then later on, within that second round again, they go get an offensive tackle out of Boston College, Ozzy Trapilo, who is very good. He did a lot in protecting Thomas Castellanos last season. He's going to be very versatile, long arms, very strong. I don't know if he'll play left tackle or right tackle, but you do get the offensive line help, especially considering the trades that Chicago has made to help Caleb Williams and that offense and rebuff that offensive line. Then later on within that draft, they go get Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M, interior defensive lineman. Now, he's going to disrupt the run. He's going to disrupt the pass. He's very big, very physical. He can split blocks, locate the ball, and make plays in the backfield very early. So you got you a nice addition to that defensive line after already making the appropriate adjustments last year. So Chicago Bears definitely did the right thing and take the right steps to not only help Caleb Williams and his offense get off to the right foot in year number 2, but also with a new head coach, you can start to see his imprint on the team right away. And lastly, the New York Giants went in with a game plan. They did everything possible to get the guys that they wanted and the guys that they need for this roster to compete next year. After an abysmal season last year, Brian Daboll knows he's on the hot seat, and he goes out and gets him a stud at the number 3 pick. He gets Abdul Carter. And again, we already know what he's done and how great he was. But let me tell you real quick. The guy had 66 quarterback pressures, ranking second in the FBS in his first season as a full-time edge rusher last year. He also had a lot of great tackles. He had over 50 plus tackles last season. And again, barring injury, he still was one of the best players on the field. And how he's going to come into this year in a 3-4 Giant style defense, we could see him play how Michael Parsons played in his first couple years in Dallas. He played off the ball, had his hand in the dirt. He moved from left side to right side, more of a free roaming defensive end linebacker hybrid. And it's going to pay off dividends for these guys. A generational talent, if this pays off, as one of the best defensive edge rushers to come off the board that high. Then they trade back into the first round and go find their quarterback of the future. In a loaded quarterback room with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, they get a guy that they felt confident in Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, who they know does not have to play right away. He's a first round pick, but now you've given him time to develop because you got 2 quarterbacks who are in there who have a chance to compete and start, and they can take the pressure off of him. And behind the offensive line that wasn't that strong last year. So Jackson Dart will come in and he will work out very well because he has very strong arm, very good play recognition skills. So it all works out. Then later on in the draft, in the 3rd round, they go get Darius Alexander, the edge rusher from Toledo. Again, another guy in a 3-4 defense that you can move around. And actually, you'll probably make him play interior a little bit in some nickel packages to pair him up next to Dexter Lawrence. So the defensive line for the Giants is pretty much solidified. You have Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau on the edges. You have Darius Alexander and Dexter Lawrence interiors on a lot of big jumbo pass rushing packages, or even if you just need a bona fide run stop on a 3rd and 1. So they address that. And then in the 4th round, they go get them a running back. Now, their running back room isn't bad, but it definitely needed a lot of guys. And this guy fits the New York Giants. Just a head buster, a ground and pound running back. They go get Cam Scatterbull out of Arizona State. We all got a chance to see what he did in the college football playoff against Texas, although they didn't win. He's one of the few players in this draft and one of the few running backs since Christian McCaffrey to have 1,500 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards in the same season. Crazy strength, excellent balance, can break multiple tackles and runs through people, and he gets low and runs behind his pads. So the Giants got them a guy who's pretty much going to be an every down back. So there you have it. Those were my 4 teams who won their NFL draft. Now, again, we won't know how this all shakes out until we get to the regular season. But in terms of finding guys at great value and addressing needs, these 4 teams did it by far the best. Now, you guys let me know about your team. Who were you excited to see who get drafted on you guys' roster? Did anything surprise you? Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll go check you guys out in the comment section. Until the next video, I'll see you guys later.